So here we are in summer. It's the solstice is upon us, or has gone by, um, and it represents a change. Um, the changing of the seasons is something that we're attuned to on the calendar, but also something that we're attuned to in our bodies. Um, you know, these bodies, these little self carriers that we have are very much a product of our environment, and they respond in ways that are appropriate for the seasons. And sometimes it's a joy and a pleasure to notice that change, um, especially in a time when we are often staring at the same four walls um, every day, and having a little variety and change is something that we are probably craving a little bit more than normal. Um, and so let's have our meditation start by entering in um, with the memories or the feelings that come to mind when we think of the transition from spring into summer. Um, as we notice the telltale signs of summer, the temperature, the movement in our gardens from the early spring blooms, like the daffodils and the irises, that sort of open our hearts to the transition out of winter. But now we see, uh, maybe even some lettuce and some snap peas and daisies and all kinds of flowers showing themselves, some of which we saw on Sunday at the flower communion. We go from, for me, I was wearing um, warmer clothes right up until, the first weeks of June this year. Um, and now we are toying with the idea of turning on the air conditioning. So those kind of transitions are happening. Excuse me. And so let's let our minds and bodies and feelings and breath immerse ourselves in the transition from spring to summer. Bring into focus one of those signs, the flowers, the temperature, the longer days. Bring into focus in your mind one of those things, and just feel how holding that thought, holding that feeling, can bring you into a state of meditation. Perhaps a state of joy, perhaps a state of gratitude, perhaps a state of, oh, it's going to be hot, maybe some trepidation. However, these signs um, affect you, allow yourself to immerse yourself in those feelings. in that thought. Let it move from a thought that might be centered in your head and allow that thought, that feeling to slowly spread itself out throughout the entire body. And as you feel that thought or feeling spread throughout the body, allow that movement of spirit, that movement of chi, that movement of intention to also fill the body with a sense of ease, a sense of receptivity to accept whatever that thought or feeling has to offer to you this morning. As you feel the energy of that thought or feeling totally sort of envelop and fill the body, the breath, and the mind, sort of take notice how much different you feel than just before you logged on to our meditation session. And perhaps appreciate how the activity of meditation can be of help with the simple turning of the mind. And take heart in that recognition that with the turning of the mind, we can turn our day around. We can turn um, stress into healing. We can turn anger into hearing, and we can turn a sensation uh, from a response to a sensation which is perhaps different in how we might react um, negatively. This turning of the mind is a central um, process in the effort to reduce suffering that the Buddha laid out for us. The turning of the mind is a very important step towards becoming a Buddha or finding the Buddha within us. And it comes from listening to our own minds and learning the lessons that we learn in meditation every day, um, and extending that lessons out towards others. The turning of the mind, um, where we turn to, is something called bodhicitta, or um, bodhi meaning the awakened one or the Buddha, and citta meaning something like the combination of our hearts and our minds. And so it means having the heart and mind of a Buddha, of an awakened one. And this bodhicitta is something that is a powerful energy um, to let us sort of move forward in life with wisdom and compassion, and with the ability to uh, meet the challenges of our day in such a way that we perhaps can be a light for others. And more specifically, the turning of the mind comes from the path from compassion to great wisdom. And by that, I simply mean as we meditate, we come to this world with our experiences of our own suffering, of how we can live with the emotions of anger, of distress, of dis-ease, of depression, of all sorts of negative responses to the world. We come to a place of compassion for ourselves when we discover how prone we are to create our own suffering by um, responding to the challenges of others with um, sort of a disingenuous, self-centered response that says, well, I've got it hard too, or you think you've got it bad, think about how I feel. Or and when we come in meditation to understand how many of our difficulties arise simply from our choices of how we respond to the world, if we choose to treat anger as a reason to lash out, we only make things worse. But if we, through wisdom and practice and effort, we take in anger as a messenger that's telling us that something is wrong that we need to pay attention to, and that if we were to find the source of our anger, we might find a more effective antidote than lashing out or uh, just compounding error. We might find that the source of our anger is a sense of aloneness or a sense of um, disconnectedness from others. We might find that that comes from a sense of frustration that we can't help others or that we can't change our world. Um, the anger could come um, because we are we feel helpless in the face of the challenges that affect us every day. And if we examine the roots of our anger, we might perhaps recognize not only that we deserve as much care and taking care of as anyone else in this world. And as we begin to adjust our response to anger, to our feeling of helplessness, we also begin to recognize that others are all in the same boat, and that they are at the whim of their emotions, and they're often quite helpless uh, in being able to respond to the challenges that the world bring to them. And we establish a basis for bodhicitta, which is the heart and mind of a Buddha. That basis is a compassion, a sharing in the suffering of others. Calm meaning to share, passion meaning to suffer. And as we find a connection in this sharing of suffering, as we find a connection in our helplessness against a vast universe of difficulties and challenges, we begin to turn our minds, towards wisdom, towards a more skillful way, skillful means for addressing anger, which is making choices in response to the world so that we don't compound our suffering and therefore compound the suffering of others. So, as a little side project in this meditation session that we do every week, in addition to just entering into a sense of quiet, a sense of subtle awareness, and watching ourselves and being in a state of non judgmental awareness and reaping the benefits of those things. But we also want to look to how this meditation practice feeds our bodhicitta, feeds that turning of the mind from compassion into wisdom, into connection with others, with a sense of wholeness with the world, identifying not as just ourselves, but um, as a interconnected web of being. And if all of what I just said was too complicated, a much more concise and simple way to think about that and meditate on it is to simply appreciate, find gratitude in the fact that we are deeply connected with each other and that we are deeply reliant upon our friends, our acquaintances, and even those we have no sort of physical connection with whatsoever to just survive and meditate on the gratefulness that probably most naturally arises from just acknowledging that fact, and let that gratefulness well up from the heart and fill the body with ease, with energy, with joy. And then just rest in that joy, rest in that interconnectedness, and follow the breath. And over the next few breaths, with each inhale, just breathe in the strength that we take from this interconnectedness to those around us. Take in the strength that you need. And on the exhale, release gratitude and appreciation and perhaps a little compassion uh, for those out there who need it. And now we're going to slowly come out of our meditation. Allow the next inhale to be a little bit deeper. And on the exhale, bring some movement to the fingers and the toes and the spine. Allow the next inhale to be even deeper. And on the exhale, slowly open the eyes. May all living beings have happiness and its causes. May all be free from unhappiness and its causes. May all dwell in equanimity, free from attraction or aversion. May all quickly find the great happiness which lies beyond all misery, and may all enjoy inner and outer peace now and forever. Namo Amitofo. Have a wonderful day.